Profit-maximizing firms that produce positive levels of output will continue to produce so long as the additional revenue they get from producing is larger than the additional costs they incur. In other words, so long as marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. Thus, if a firm is profit-maximizing, it will produce the output level where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. This is in fact precisely what we concluded for price-taking competitive firms. For such firms, the marginal revenue of producing additional output is always equal to the market price, and we found that profit-maximizing competitive firms will produce where price is equal to marginal cost. For monopolists, price is not equal to marginal revenue, but monopolists will still profit-maximize where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. As we saw in graph 23.1, the marginal revenue curve for monopolists is derived from the downward-sloping demand curve that monopolists face, with marginal revenue having the same vertical intercept as the demand curve, but intersecting the horizontal axis at half the distance. Determining the minimum cost at which different output levels can be produced is the same for monopolists as it is for price-taking firms. In both cases, the firms simply ask for each level of output what's the least costly way of producing that output. Thus, the cost curves that we derived for price-taking firms can also be derived in exactly the same way for monopolists, and we can illustrate a marginal cost curve in much the same way as we did for price-taking firms. Like all profit-maximizing firms, monopolists will produce where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. This results in an output quantity of xm, which the monopolist then sells at the highest possible price, pm, at which that output level can be sold. We can then ask in panel B of the graph what it is about the market power of the monopolist that causes an inefficiency to emerge. One way to see this is to see that between output levels xm and x star, the marginal benefit of those output levels, as shown in the demand curve, is higher than the marginal cost. Thus, by stopping production at xm, we are foregoing the triangle of potential surplus between xm and x star, just to the left of the intersection of the marginal cost and demand curves. When consumers buy at the monopoly price PM, their surplus is the area A plus B, the area above the price up to the demand curve. The monopolist's surplus is the area below the monopolist's price down to the marginal cost curve and over to the output quantity, xm, that the monopolist produces. In other words, the monopolist's surplus is area C plus D. Because the monopolist restricts quantity below x star where marginal cost intersects demand, the area E emerges as the deadweight lost from the monopolist's behavior. The inefficiency arises not so much because the monopolist takes a part of what might otherwise be consumer surplus, but rather because the monopolist restricts output quantity in order to be able to raise price, and it is in restricting output that the deadweight loss emerges.